Getting answers for Western Massachusetts. This is Western Mass News.
School staffers across the state with questions surrounding who's now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. And we're getting you answers on exactly who can roll up their sleeves. And after closing their doors for nearly a year due to the pandemic, it's back to business for one Springfield company. We'll give you an inside look coming up.
State legislators introduced a bill that would allow small businesses to enter the sports betting world. I'm Priscilla Landaverde with a reaction from a business owner coming up.
New developments as the state moves to get students back to full in-person learning. Good Friday evening, everyone. Welcome to Western Mass News at 6. I'm Chris Pisano. Just late this afternoon, the Education Commissioner was granted the power to end remote learning options in our state. Also, the spring MCAS testing has been postponed a month. Grades 3 through 5 will now begin testing on May 10th instead of April 5th. And earlier this week, teachers were told they could start signing up for the COVID-19 vaccine starting March 11th. But teachers aren't the only people who work in schools, and we've had questions coming in to the Vaccine Authority hotline asking about other school employees' eligibility. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo is getting us answers tonight. She joins us now live in Springfield with more on that. Audrey?
There are a lot of school employees who aren't teachers, but who still have regular contact with kids. They want to make sure they can get protected against COVID-19 as well.
Before even this virus, kids, get on a bus and sometimes they're sick.
Jose R. Gonzalez is a bus monitor for Springfield Public Schools. He called the Western Mass News Vaccine Authority hotline, wondering if he would be allowed to sign up for a COVID-19 vaccine on March 11th, along with teachers and other school and child care employees.
I just want to prepare myself to keep the kids safe, keep everybody safe on that bus.
He also wants to keep his family healthy. An important goal, he says, after losing his mother to the virus.
On Mother's Day last year.
Western Mass News reached out to state health officials. They clarified that in addition to teachers, daycare, and preschool staff, bus drivers and monitors, school admin staff, and janitors and custodians will also be able to sign up for a shot March 11th. Noticeably absent from the list, higher education.
When you look at where the risk is for spreading of COVID, we know that there's less likelihood of that happening at the younger ages.
Karen Russo is the Dean of the School of Health Sciences for American International College. She says she's surprised in the corridor of knowledge that is Western Mass that college workers are left out, especially those who work in student affairs. She says they have to help students who are quarantined on campus with basic needs like bringing them food.
They are at risk because they're coming in contact with people who may have contracted COVID, and yet we can't get them eligibility for the vaccine.
We also asked state officials about meal workers and about substitute teachers within school systems, and the state officials say they too are eligible to sign up for a vaccine on March 11th. Live in Springfield, Audrey Russo for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thank you for that live report. The Department of Public Health releasing today's COVID-19 data. The state saying positivity rates over the last 7 days is sitting even at 1.82%. The state also says there have been 25 new deaths due to the coronavirus, and so far more than 1.3 million Massachusetts residents have received their first dose of the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine or the one-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine. There are approximately 6.8 million people who live here in the Bay State. Now, for a full look at the numbers, you can check out our free Western Mass News streaming app. It's back to business tonight. Bounce Trampoline Sports in Springfield forced to close just about a year ago, right in the initial coronavirus shutdown. Western Mass News reporter Leon Purvis joins us live with more on the grand reopening and the impact the pandemic has had. Leon?
Chris, a lot has changed since Bounce closed a year ago. For starters, you have to wear a mask while jumping. Also, they only allow one person per square. It's to enforce social distancing and staying 6 feet apart so people can still do backflips while staying safe. They have social distancing markers near the outside of the trampoline area. The staff consistently sanitizes and cleans areas that people are using, but as you can imagine, being closed for a year with no revenue coming in has not been easy.
When any business is closed that long, you can't help wonder, how are we going to make it? How are we going to get through this? when is that day ever going to come? So it definitely was not easy. Well, luckily, we were eligible for the PPP, CARES loan. So that's definitely helping us kind of survive, to stay afloat, to finally get to this day where we can finally reopen.
Doors opened around 3:30 this afternoon, and we've seen customers coming in and happy to be here. Now, Chris, I'm going to get in on the action as well. As you can see, this is pretty fun. So I'm going to have some fun doing this for now. Live in Springfield, Leon Purvis, Western Mass News.
Leon, never disappointing. Just please don't hurt yourself. We need you tonight. Now at 6, good news for local small businesses wanting a seat at the table in sports betting world. If it's approved here in Massachusetts, that is, 2 state legislators representing Western Mass introduced a bill that would allow just that. And Western Mass News reporter Priscilla Landaverde has details on how one Amherst business would benefit.
They, increase my revenue for the lottery, and people more walk into the store.
Local business owners like Steve Patel would be able to offer sports betting at his store under a new bill proposed by State Representative Orlando Ramos and State Senator Adam Gomez. Ramos tells Western Mass News this law would finally open the door for local businesses, especially minority-owned restaurants and retailers, to see an increase in revenue.
The other bills that have been proposed in legislature give casinos and online operators an opportunity to get involved in the business. However, to my knowledge, there are no minority-owned casinos.
Patel has owned the Neighbor, Food Mart, and Indian grocery store in Amherst for over 12 years. He is licensed under the Massachusetts Lottery Commission to offer Keno. He says adding sports betting would bring in a larger and younger crowd.
Keno's an old game, so they also play the Keno, no doubt, but it's getting down a little bit.
He says this additional form of gambling would help his business boom.
They come in the store, they would spend more money towards the grocery, soda, drinks.
And Representative Ramos says this bill would allow Massachusetts to finally catch up to surrounding states.
Connecticut had allowed casino gambling for years, as did New York and even Rhode Island. And right now, people who participate in sports wagering have to go to other states to be able to do that. And so why not spend that money here? And why not capitalize on this opportunity here in the Commonwealth?
And the tax dollars would go right back into the hands of local communities.
There's a provision in the bill that says that their percentage of the tax revenue will go towards the municipality in which the wager is placed.
The legislation is currently awaiting next steps at the State House. For Western Mass News, I'm Priscilla Landaverde.
It's been a cold day across Western Mass, highs barely making it to freezing this afternoon, and now we're back into the upper 20s. Looking out from our MGM Skycam, you can kind of see some scattered cloud cover moving in, and I think skies will go partly cloudy for tonight. Dew points are at least coming back up above 0, so that's something, and it is still blustery. Wind out of the northwest sustained at over 20 miles an hour. So temperatures are now in the 20s for everybody across Western Mass, but it's feeling about 10 degrees colder because of the wind. We're going to start to lose the higher gusts that have been around 30 to 40 miles an hour this afternoon, but we'll keep a steady breeze at about 10 to 20 miles an hour. So these wind chills are still going to be pretty rough throughout the rest of the night. Right now feeling like 8 in Pittsfield, 15 in Springfield, and wind chills should eventually end up on either side of 0 through tomorrow morning. Satellite loop is showing some of these scattered clouds coming down out of the north tonight. This is another upper level disturbance rotating around a big area of low pressure over eastern Canada. One of the reasons why we're so breezy and so cold. Looks like a couple of lake effect snow showers could eventually make it into the Berkshires, so you might have a couple of flurries tonight and tomorrow, but the valley should stay dry. Partly cloudy conditions through the evening, temperatures falling back into the low 20s, and I think we'll be in the teens again by early tomorrow morning. Now, as we head through the weekend, it's still blustery and incredibly cold on Saturday, but Sunday the wind will be a little bit lighter. We're still way below normal for this time of year, but that changes in a big way next week. We'll take a look at your 7-day forecast in just a few minutes. Chris?
Sounds good. Thanks, Janna. Normally at this point in March, UMass Amherst students would be getting ready for spring break and anticipating the party weekend known as the Blarney Blowout. But this year, amid the coronavirus pandemic and coming off of a 14-day stay-at-home order due to a COVID-19 spike on campus last month, Galvin Isbell, a senior on campus, says this is not the time to party.
I hope everybody abides by those rules. I think obviously, this global pandemic is something that's of serious magnitude, and I think just because we're, young and healthy, that it shouldn't be an exception to us too. I hope everyone stays home, stays masked up.
Campus officials tell Western Mass News that they have not heard of any potential gatherings this weekend. The Amherst Police Department tells us they will be also actively monitoring that situation. New at 6 today, a Springfield man was sentenced in federal court for failing to register as a sex offender in Rhode Island and in Massachusetts. 50-year-old Reuben Pagan was sentenced to 2 years in prison and 10 years of supervised release after he pleaded guilty to one count of failing to register as a sex offender. The 2-year federal sentence imposed today will run consecutively into a 6-year state court sentence. He's serving for pleading guilty to rape and abuse of a child.